How you doing? Been missing you.
Good to see you. I know we'll have to be back.
Chop it up and out of here. No, you're not. I said, I called Kid and I said, okay. Get the truck and go. Yeah, I said, I'll get the gas down. He said, I'll do it for you. He said, thank you. Wow. To get it down. I saw it.
Her work is extraordinary, and not just with the precision of each stitch, but the way that she storytells. I always tell people this. She is able to tell a story through her work and verbally that I haven't experienced. Us, what started your quilting journey? What brought you to the craft?
Oh boy. Okay. And before I do that, I just want to personally thank everybody for being here. You are a tremendous crowd. And I also want to thank the artists that I look up to that take time out to come. And it's just a joy being able to share quilting. That's my passion. And we have so many amazing quilters here present, and I want to thank you all. But what personally started me was back in, I guess that was 1981, when my husband and I had to go and we had to stay with Big Mama. I just gave birth to the second child, Chrissy, and we were moving from Coppers Cove, Texas to Houston, Texas. And so, for a period of time, we moved and stayed with Big Mama, who was 74 years old at the time. And so while living in her home, she asked me, she said, do you want to learn how to quilt? And I said, sure. I started sewing in 7th grade, way back when, in junior high school. Girls had to take sewing and boys took shop and metal. That was just the way it was. And so I knew how to sew on a sewing machine, made all my clothes in high school and in college. I made all my clothes. So, but this way, the way Big Mama showed me was a way that was traditional. She learned from her grandmother or her mother. It was passed down, it was heritage, it was legacy, it was tradition, it was getting a piece of cardboard and cutting out a template instead of going to Hobby Lobby and buying a plastic one. It was getting some flour sacks, because flour used to come in sacks, sugar or whatever. And so she pulled those out the closet, and then we had to trace around the shape with the square on the flour sack and cut it. I still have that flour sack that she showed me. It made the quilt, but it's kind of falling apart. But anyway, that quilt is 40-something years old. No telling how old that flour sack is. But anyway, she showed me, and then I did quilt for years and years later. When I was going to become a grandmother in 2005, I was going to become a grandmother. And that's when I remembered, and I started quilting. So she would go outside, like I said, and collect those things. And so I said, okay, I do put buttons in my quilts, but I don't put enough. I look at this stuff. Oh, I said, I'm gonna up my button game, okay? So when I created Medea, I probably put 500 buttons in that quilt, learning from Elizabeth Scott and how she would, just absolutely just use so much, so many, rocks and buttons, and phenomenal. We did have one of her quilts in our exhibition of Salt and Spirit, but yes, I get inspired by different artists like that. And like here, this is rocks that she collected outside, and she said they were healing. And if you ever have the opportunity to let that quilt Medea rest on you, oh my God, I can just the feel of it takes it to a totally different level. I mean, you can look at it and say, oh, that looks nice. But when you feel it, oh, you can feel the healing. It's like a weighted blanket. And so I'm inspired by that. Let me see. There's the G's Been Quilters. That's inspiration to me. They're a quilting group that's in Boykin, Alabama, which is in the bend of the Alabama River. It's probably 2.5 hours from here. And every year they have the airing of the quilts. Well, they'll have it again this year. But these women totally revolutionized quilting. And so their quilts are very, I'm gonna say in American look terminology, very non-traditional. They don't follow rules, no regulations. Things don't have to be on point. Instead of using scissors, because they didn't have any scissors, they're very rural and didn't have much to live on. They just the land. They would just rip the fabric. Nothing cut, they didn't have scissors. They made a way out of no way. And so now their quilts are fine art. They're all over the world. And so those women, even though they're humble, they're very humble ladies, loving, and kind, because we did have an opportunity to go visit G's Bend this summer, but we're going back for the airing of the quilts. But I'm inspired by people like that. There's so many though. But what I really do believe is that when I'm quilting, and whatever the subject is, I want to read up about it. I just don't want to, and just quilt, oh, that's a pretty picture, let me make that. I'm going to dive deep, and books inspire me. Oh, there's another book I brought. I have to show you this one. This is, when I was walking through our museum store at the Mississippi Museum of Art, I saw this book on the shelf. And here it is, Making a Way Out of No Way. I'm looking at that lady, I'm saying her name is Ella Watkins, and Gordon Parks is the photographer of this book. I said, that looks just like Medea. Oh my goodness. So I bought it and I read it, and it's the narrative of 40 women that were domestics, they were cooks, they were nannies, they worked out in the fields, and I read their narratives, and all of that energy as I'm working on Medea is going back into the quilt. How they sometimes had to leave their families because in the deep South, cleaning a house, they may have made $1.20. Well, if they moved to Boston or Detroit or somewhere up north, they would make $2.25. So they left, and mama, big mama, auntie, or somebody took care of the children, and they would go and work. So not only were they taking care of a family that was far away, when they were working, they would send money back home to the South, and so they were taking care of 2 families with their wages and their earnings. So that energy went into Big Medea, the quilt that's hanging in the gallery now. That's very important. Not to just, for me, it's very important to read and to learn and to study as I'm quilting. It's just the inspiration and all of that, the thought process is just pouring into the quilt, and and then you can feel it.
So one thing that I love is that sometimes, people will look at quilts and they're like, oh, okay, they can keep us warm, or this is an object, but you make it feel like an experience. So when I view your quilts, and even the quilters that are in Big Mama's Quilting Group, who, I don't know if any of them are beginners, but everybody looks expert level. And I think that says a lot about your teaching and that it is masterful. But I like that you give us another way to experience the works, experience the quilts. One thing that I love is texture. As an artist myself, I love texture, and I noticed that you have a lot of texture in your pieces. And I just wanted to know what inspires you, like when you're picking out fabrics. Like how does picking out fabrics for your quilt, how does that process go?
Okay, I think that comes natural to me, really, because I started sewing when I was probably in 7th grade, 12. So I think it kind of comes natural. I like to touch fabric. I would not be one to want to order it online because I have to feel it. It has to go through my hands. And I can tell if the fabric is a good quality. And I don't mind buying a good quality because I'm gonna tell you all a little secret, okay? 20 years ago, when I first started quilting and I went to a teacher workshop with the Mississippi Old Schools, and we had like teacher camp, and we went to camp, and the quilters from Cultural Crossroad Quilters were the instructors. And I was just learning, this is 2005, and I'm buying this fabric from the big box store. I'm not gonna mention the name, but the big box store. Okay? And the quilter told me, the master quilter told me, don't buy your fabric from the big box store. You know, because I was trying to go the affordable, cheap way. And she, no, don't buy your fabric from there. So, because you want it to last through generations. And if you buy poor quality fabric, it's not gonna be able to be passed down to your grandchild, your great-grandchild, you know, go generations deep. So I use good fabric. I might get it on sale, but I have to touch it. I'm not gonna order it online. I just can't do that. And then the colors, the way the colors, I just play with it. That's one of the things quilting teaches you, how to play. Play with fabric, have fun with it. There are different styles and different traditions. Some people dye their own. Some people just, you know, match it how they see it. Different quilters have different styles, and the important thing is to find your rhythm, find your style. You know, if you are a machine quilter, if you want to quilt stitch by hand like I do, I just prefer to. If you like to do both, we have quilters in our quilting circle that do both, and that's all right. That's perfectly fine. That's amazing. They do beautiful works using a machine and hand stitching. You just have to find what works for you. And there are no rules. You don't, you know, that's just finding your own groove, basically.
So I wanted to come to one of the quilting groups, and I was like, I am horrible on the sewing machine. I was trying to learn with Jessica, and I was like, okay, I'm not the best at this, but it was interesting to know through our conversations that I can stitch by hand, and I think that I could do this. So I'm very excited for the next meeting, which we'll talk about. It'll be held here October the 19th, but we'll give you more details on that as well before we close out tonight. So I wanted to switch up and talk about the quilting group. How long has the quilting group been active, and what made you want to start Big Mama's Quilting Group?
Well, our quilting circle will have its 2nd birthday on October 19th, as you said, Monica. It will be here. The next meeting will be at Briarwood Arts Center. We meet at the, not at the Arts Center directly, but right next door at Briarwood Presbyterian Church, because our group kind of grew, and so we needed space, and Pastor Charles was very kind to let us meet there in the fellowship hall. So that's where we will meet, 3 to 5, every 3rd Sunday. That's where we meet. You don't have to bring anything. Just bring yourself. We have fabric there. We have amazing quilters, ladies and men that will be there to help you. If you have any questions, just come and you will learn. The thing of it is, you want to kind of, we have all levels. We have people that have been there the first time, then we have people who've been quilting 20 years. So you just kind of jump right in where you are and just keep coming and experiencing and learning. One thing that I always like to do though is to pay homage to a legacy quilter. So we do learn about a quilter that's pretty much passed away, but what's so important about their design. Now, in the gallery, there is a quilt. You'll see it is laying on a platform. Okay, it's down on, because it's old. And we do believe that it was made by Sarah Mary Taylor from Yazoo City. She passed away in 2000. But that quilt, and we've talked about her in our quilting circle. Sarah Mary Taylor was born in the Delta, and she never had any children, but she did have 5 husbands. Okay? She had 5 husbands, no children. And her mother was Pacolia Warner, and her aunt was another famous quilter. But so the tradition was passed down through them, and they have quilts in museums across the country. But one of the staff members at the Mississippi Museum of Art, his grandmother knew Sarah Mary Taylor, and he truly believes that that's her quilt. You'll see it with it's like cut out applique figures, and that was her style. That's the way she did many of her quilts. We looked her up in a book. I said, oh no, that's definitely her quilt. So that's an honor just to have something like that in the exhibition, because it's important to pass that legacy. And I had to conserve it. You know, I'll be 150. So there's no way in the world. But anyway, so just start teaching it. That's what inspired me. Said, why don't you just teach it? I said, well, okay. And he said, what do you want to call it? I said, well, I'm just gonna teach the way Big Mama taught me. He said, okay, that's the name of Big Mama's Quilting Circle. And we've been meeting for almost 2 years in October. We, praise God, we haven't missed 1 month. Sometimes it would be cold, and I'm saying, oh, probably nobody's gonna come. But 20 people would come. So that was wonderful, you know. But that's how we got started. And we've done so many wonderful things. We have a project in the gallery. It's We're the Threads of Mississippi. Our Threads of Mississippi is the name of it. Where one of the members, she came and she said, why don't we make a group quilt? I said, oh, okay, well, we'll do that. And Jamie Coombs spearheaded that. And so you'll see all the ladies men that wanted to make a 13 by 13 inch square. We got them together, and it's beautiful, it's amazing. So we work together, because when you work together, then you have enough. You know, you work together, you learn from each other, everybody contributes. So that's how we roll with Big Mama's Quilting Circle.
Okay, I have so many questions, but I'll ask some more so everyone can have an opportunity to ask questions as well. I won't hog all the time. But what kinds of impact do you hope that the group has on its members, as well as a larger community, and you know, just the people that are here today? Like, what do you hope that they leave with?
I hope you leave with knowing the fact that you can be a quilter. Amen. That you do not have to, you quilt from the heart. You know, you don't have to follow rules, or you really don't make a mistake. That even imperfect is beautiful. You know, there is a concept that is perfect in the imperfect. So slow quilting is very slow, very meaningful, very purposeful, and you can relax. I generally quilt in the evenings after a long, hard day. I sit on my couch, turn on the TV, get my beverage of choice, and I sit there and stitch. Just stitch, you know, and it's, the quilt speaks to me and tells me where to put things. You know, one of our quilters made a beautiful runner, I'm not gonna mention her name, and she didn't like the way it was going, the stitching that she was doing. She took all that apart. She picked it all loose because she wasn't really happy with that. She wanted to put butterflies on it. And that can happen because the quilt is telling you, it's talking to you. We have quilters, there's another quilter, I'm not mentioning any names, but started stitching by hand and then decided, this fabric is pretty tough, I can put it on the machine. And finished it off on the machine. So quilts speak to you, they tell you what they need. And as a quilter or artist, just listen and follow it and it'll direct you. Did I answer the question or did I go off?
Beautiful.
I think I messed something. Did I say something about the community, where we're supposed to go?
Okay, so yeah, I did ask what impact did you want it to have on the community? Not just, here at the show, you did answer that, but just quilting in general, the impact you wanted to have. And let me add something else since I got the mic again. You asked me, have you seen an interest in quilting in the younger generation? Like more growth in the people who are coming to the circle? Or is it the younger generation? And how are they taking to quilting as well?
Okay, yes, we have all ages coming to the quilting circle. We have children as well as people that are seasoned. So it's all levels, all ages. My granddaughter Sarai is learning how to quilt. I got Aunt Adeline passed away, and Aunt Dolores sent all of Aunt Adeline's fabric and all her quilting notions and things. She gave them to me, and in the bag was a topper. See, quilts come in there are three pieces to a quilt, and I brought this so you all can see. When you see it, you just see the finished product, but it has the top. It has the batting that's in the middle and the backing, and you have to stitch all three layers together to make it a quilt. This top part is not a quilt. If it's just like this, is the topper. So Aunt Adeline passed away, she didn't finish it, Aunt Dolores sent the top to me. So Sarai is now, she is tying with using yarn, all three pieces together to make it a quilt. So she's 11. So we have all age levels, but a lot of quilters start early. They start learning how to quilt. When they're children, a long time ago, that's when they learned, when they were young. And the reason why they learned was to help the family stay warm. Back in the early days, there was no, air conditioning or heat. You couldn't just flip the thermostat on and have heat throughout the house. They had to have quilts to keep warm. And so it was very important. I mean, it was just almost like life or death. And the thing about a quilt is, no matter how cold it is outside, this is what my grandson told me. He said, Mimi, no matter how cold it is outside or how hot it is, that quilt is the perfect temperature. And that's just it, and that's the reality of it. I think I left something else. I know what I did. Okay, you asked me about the community. Well, after our exhibition here, the Harvest Festival at the Ag Museum, we're gonna have Quilt Church. They invited us last year, and we, in the church, at the Ag Museum, on the pews, we spread out all the quilts. So people from all over Mississippi and Louisiana, when they come to the Harvest Festival, and when they have the cotton gin going, and they got the biscuits with the syrup, and you can go out there and see all of that, and the blacksmiths, Okay, we will have quilt church. So I'm inviting you to quilt church, and the quilts will be laying across the pews. Okay.
So my last thing, and then I'll get to the crowd. How can we? I know I said it like 3 times. Huh? I promise this time. How can we come to a quilting circle? Where can we find out about it?
Okay. Well, you can always go to Briarwood Art Center website. Stephen has a calendar. And we are always the 3rd Sunday from 3 to 5. That's pretty much our day. But if you look at the Briarwood Art Center, he's on Instagram and Facebook. He posts the calendar, and that way you can find out. It's gonna be on there. But generally, I think the next one is September the 21st, 3rd Sunday, yes. And just bring yourself and come and have fun and enjoy and talk about quilts and bring your projects. We look at each other's projects and we just enjoy ourselves.
Oh, you keep it, because now we're gonna ask you some questions.
Okay.
So the floor is open.
It's really humbling, you know, and I just thank God that we're able to have people think about quilts like that and want to learn and want to learn how to stitch. And I appreciate just the collaborative effort of everybody, you know, that wants to participate, and everybody's welcome, and we just want to share the phenomena of quilts and how they make you feel, you know. And if you have an old quilt at home, please take it out the closet in the plastic bag and let it breathe, you know, and feel that energy that Big Mama or Mima or grandmother or Aunt Bessie or whoever put into that quilt. It's kind of saddening when you see quilts in the trash, or at the, you know, somebody dumped them off at the Goodwill or whatever.